It's just a fact that lucid dreamers are the superior master race, okay? Can we stop denying it? Can we stop denying it? And not just lucid dreamers, just people who are interested in their dreams in general, okay? And to prove this, I will explain every benefit and every use of not just lucid dreaming, but like dreams in general and the states going into sleep and out and coming out of sleep. Because I know, I get a lot of people asking me all the time, like, what's the point of lucid dreaming? And like, why would you lucid dream? Why would I care about dreams? Like, bro, it's like much deeper than you think. Like, it's not, we're not just using lucid dreaming to goon and like fuck, okay? This is what I said like last video or whatever. We're not just using it to do that, although of course you can. So I won't list out as well everything you can do in a lucid dream because I already talked about that like 100 fucking times. I won't list out how you can like fly and like go and do whatever you want, which of course is like that's fun, so that's one component. But I will list out really every use of dreams in general and those sleep states and those borderline states when you're going into sleep, and they will get kind of weirder as I go along. So I don't know if you would think of this as like some fucking iceberg thing or something. Once again, I've never watched an iceberg, so I've still never watched one, so I don't know how those work. But anyways, the first benefit of lucid dreaming is improved metacognition. I have a long list here, so I'll look at it, and I apologize if they kind of seem to get more schizo as I talk about them. Like, just hear me out, okay? The improved one is improved metacognition. A metacognition is basically just being aware of your own thoughts and being aware of your thinking. It's like thinking about thinking. And so people who are lucid dreamers have much raised metacognition than most people. So that just means they're more aware of like their thought processes. And I guess that would make sense because the very like fact of trying to lucid dream and do lucid dreaming techniques, you need to be like aware of your own thoughts and you need to pay more attention to that. But it's also that like when you're in a lucid dream, you're in your head and you're like, fuck, I'm walking around in my brain right now. So like that kind of makes you more aware of your thoughts in general, even when you're awake. And of course, metacognition is very useful in just so many things because like I guess if you're not aware of your thought processes, and not to sound superior to anyone, although as I said, lucid dreamers are the superior master race, not to sound superior, but I feel like if you're not aware of your thought processes and you're not aware of like why you believe things, which lucid dreaming helps foster, you're kind of a retarded NPC in a way. Like if you think something and you don't know why you think something, aren't you a little bit retarded? And no, nothing wrong with that because ignorance is bliss. I love being retarded a lot, and I very much am. But I'm just saying, if you just by having lucid dreams and just by trying to lucid dream, which I won't talk about how to do it in this like video or whatever, that will improve your metacognition. So that's one thing people don't really talk about. The next one is, it's like the final escape from reality, bro. It's like the final escape from reality. It's better than books, movies, video games. It's like all that combined times 1,000. So if you, and this isn't necessarily bad, okay? When people talk about escape from reality, that's not bad. Like, I know a lot of these are self-improvement alpha people would be like, don't play video games, don't like do that shit. Some people even say like, don't listen to music because that's demonic and distracts you. Sorry, but like, that's retarded. There is nothing wrong with escaping from reality, okay? Even if you're fucking homeless and you're 100% of the time escaping from reality, I'm still not going to tell you what to do. And I'm just saying, until we unlock full dive VR, so until we unlock like some Sword Art Online shit, right? Lucid dreaming will be the best escape from reality and the best like immersive way to have fun and enter into other worlds and shit. So I guess that kind of sums up what I was talking about like fucking people and flying and like doing all the shit like that. That kind of is summed up into that one. So that's really good. And the next one is improving skills. I don't know if you know, I've kind of touched on this before, but they've literally gotten athletes to try and improve skills in their lucid dreams. Like, go and do athletic shit, and they have increased performance in real life after they do it. It's not only that, there's been a study where they got people to throw darts, like practice dart throwing, I can't recall if those people already knew how to throw darts. I can't recall that. I'll have a look at the study. But the people who did that were literally better at throwing darts, bro, in real life if they were able to do it in the dream. That shit literally improves your performance. And that doesn't apply to just sports. That obviously applies to anything, dealing with any situation, social interaction, playing an instrument, literally fucking anything. And it kind of links in with the next benefit. And this is not just lucid dreams, but this is dreams in general, in that it can help you deal with trauma and PTSD. There's actually people who literally teach veterans how to lucid dream to help with their PTSD, bro. Because if you can go into a lucid dream, because obviously a lot of those people have reoccurring nightmares and whatever, if you're able to become lucid, you can obviously stop that and deal with it and change the dream to however you want. Now, if you cannot become lucid and you don't want a lucid dream, you can still use your dreams to fix this and like fix reoccurring nightmares through imagery scripting. And that's another thing, in that if you wake up from a really bad dream or you keep having nightmares, you can write down that dream and rescript it to how you want to, like, how you wanted it to turn out, and like turn it into something more positive. And studies show over time that will actually change your fucking dreams, bro. That will change how your brain works and then change your dreams so they will be nicer and much more positive. And so I'm not going to get into too much depth on like the techniques for these specific things, but that's just one I guess benefit of it, or one use of it. And so that's like really, and there's dream incubation as well, which is like choosing what to dream about, but I'll get into that later. But dealing with nightmares, PTSD, and trauma, that's just a really like, that's a good benefit most people don't talk about. The next one I had listed down here was empathy. Now, empathy, it's like, I don't mean, oh, by having a lucid dream or by paying more attention to your dreams, you should do that because you'll start treating everyone right and start loving everyone and shit, which obviously is good if you do that, whatever. But I mean, if you think about a dream, and a lot of people don't realize this because they don't focus on their dreams much and so don't remember any, if not any at all. There's a thing in dreams where often you're someone else and you're like someone else with their memories and their personality, and you're not yourself at all. And so when I say empathy, it's really cool, for example, to like watch a movie or read a book or something, and maybe you're a bit disconnected from it, but then you have a dream where you're literally a book character, where you're like the embodiment of a fucking book character. Or for example, you have a dream where you're really present and you're like in the 1800s or you're in the fucking 1500s or some shit. It is so cool to have that experience and then wake up and then suddenly you know, I mean, obviously you don't know specifically what it's like, but it's like you have a really good idea of what it was like to be alive during that time, or what it's like to be that book character next time you read that book. And so I had that thing where I was reading like Game of Thrones, right? And then there's like a invasion of like these wildlings, which are like these fucking bad guys or whatever. Like my point is, right, I was reading this book and then I had a dream where I was one of the book characters and I was in this war and I was like really involved in it because I was there in like first person in the dream, because obviously your brain while you're having a dream thinks it's like in real life. And then after I was in that war scenario, I woke up, and then when I was reading that book the next day, I was like, holy shit, bro, I understand what these people are going through. Like I literally have been through this shit, bro. I've been through this war, and like it gave me this insane amount of empathy to like book characters. And that's what I'm saying. It's like so cool for that shit because you can understand things from like different points of view, I guess. And it's like that's a thing that you may experience just from paying attention to your dreams, not even trying to lucid dream. But honestly, I didn't have too many benefits for the lucid dreaming shit and that. So I guess I should move on to the next one, which is hypnagogia, or hypnopompic imagery. And hypnagogia is, I've talked about this a lot recently, bro, but it's like when you're falling asleep and your brain starts kind of going off by itself. And you know, sometimes when you're falling asleep, you may have like jerks, or you may have these weird images in your head, or like see bright flashes. That's like hypnagogic imagery. And when you're coming out of sleep, that's hypnopompic imagery. So once again, you may be coming out of sleep, but like you're kind of in this half dream state where you're having these weird thoughts or like weird images, or you may find that your visualization and imagination is very clear. That's hypnopompic imagery. And people do not realize how much you can use these twilight states or borderland states to do shit. And I've been working on like a solid teachable technique to enter hypnagogia, and I haven't got a way to explain the steps perfectly now, though I'm still working on it. But I will say, if you want to enter hypnagogia, you can do it during the day without falling asleep. And it's essentially like you have to kind of detach from any mental shit you're thinking of, and you need to detach from the outside world. And when you do that, and kind of get into that state you're in as you're falling asleep, as you're losing consciousness and like separating from your ego or whatever, if you get into that state, that opens up so much shit, bro. That opens up so much shit. It's fucking crazy, which I'll talk about. And the first one for that is creativity. And this is obviously a creativity hotspot, because as you're falling asleep, you don't have all these walls and like guards up in your mind, and your brain can kind of just go and do what it wants. And so that's why people like Nikola Tesla, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, literally like Albert Einstein as well, used hypnagogia to get creative breakthroughs and insights. And Edgar Allan Poe, I don't know if you know that guy, he wrote a lot of like stories and short stories and poems and shit. He was like a really good writer. He actually wrote about hypnagogia a lot, and he became aware during hypnagogia to get creative breakthroughs and like look at what his brain was doing. So if you can get into that state, it's so good for creativity. And the next one is learning. Now, this is a thing I guess people like, when you talk about sleep learning or like learning as you fall asleep, people think that's like some pseudo-sciencey thing or some shit. But they've done studies that show, and this is just from talking to people when they were in hypnagogia in a sleep lab and like waking them up when they're in that state, your ears, like your sense of hearing is so much more open when you're falling asleep, like more open than when you're awake, bro. And it's like your senses become so much more acute, I guess the word is, when you're falling asleep. And like, what's the point of this? Who gives a fuck if your hearing is better, right? Like, of course, you may think if your hearing is better, then you can play like a clip of like some language learning thing and whatever, and then you may hear that better, but how will that help with learning? The thing is that when you're in a hypnagogic state and you're schizo-ranting as you fall asleep, you have a tendency to become completely absorbed in what you're hallucinating, and you kind of merge with it in a sense. That's a thing a lot of people talk about, and what I've experienced during hypnagogia is that you forget about your body and what you're thinking of as you're falling asleep. You completely become absorbed in, even if you don't remember it, right? Even if you're not aware of it, this shit is still happening. So say, for example, you were playing some language learning thing, or you were playing some learning module as you're falling asleep. Several things will happen. Not only will your ears be much more open to it, so not only will it kind of enter into your brain better, but you can literally become completely absorbed in it, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a very common thing in hypnagogia where, for example, if you're listening to someone talk, you will have a hallucination of that person talking in your hypnagogic imagery and become completely absorbed in them. That's why sleep learning, I can't remember what it's called. I think the name for learning in hypnagogia is like hypnopedia or some shit like that. But that's why that shit is so underrated, bro. Like, and people talk about subliminal audios. You know those so I don't know if you've seen that like subliminal audio thing, bro, where people talk about like if you listen to this audio with like affirmations that are really low level that you can't really hear, this will enter into your subconscious and whatever, and then that can actually give you like physical changes. And it's like, you know, the become black subliminals, like get blue eye subliminals, and people listen to those audios to change themselves. If that was true, now I have not looked into that too much and I don't really have a solid stance on that, but if that stuff was all real, the perfect place to listen to subliminal affirmations to change any part of yourself would be as you're falling asleep, because your ears are just so fucking open. Like, I apologize if I'm talking too quickly or like shouting at you or some shit, but no, this shit is just cool as fuck, because I've been reading like a lot more about this hypnagogia shit. And so when you're in that state of complete absorption, it's very similar to hypnosis as well. Hypnosis, how do hypnotists hypnotize people? They get them into a really suggestive, receptive state where that person is kind of open to anything. And of course, when someone's open to anything and they don't have a bunch of walls in their mind, you can get them to do a lot of shit. It's kind of like if someone's drunk, or like if someone's on drugs and they don't have inhibitions and they're not aware of what they're doing, you can kind of get them to do a lot of other stuff they wouldn't normally do. And that's literally the hypnagogic fucking state, bro. And so you can use it to learn like so well. So I should probably move on to the next point. But like, okay, the next benefit is that you can use hypnagogia. So as you're falling asleep or as you're waking up, use this for dream interpretation, bro. When people talk about interpreting dreams, so it's like, what does my dream mean, bro? Hey, can you oh my god, bro, we get so many people in the Discord all the time saying like, oh, can you interpret my dream or some shit? What is the best place to interpret your dreams, if not a state where you're literally in a dream-like state and you're literally in a similar place to where you were in the dream? Is it not better to try and interpret your dreams in hypnagogia as you're falling asleep or as you're waking up than to do it while you're fully awake and you have all these guards up in your mind? So there's also a thing called, I think, auto symbolism, I think it's called, when you're in hypnagogia, where a lot of the things you think in hypnagogia can have meaning attached to them very easily. And there's this method where you can kind of conversate with your hypnagogia. So for example, if I'm falling asleep and I manage to enter this hypnagogic state where I'm aware that my brain is kind of schizo-ranting and going off on tangents, instead of willing the hypnagogia to like, instead of saying like, instead of forcing my brain to try and think of a dream in attempts to interpret it, I could kind of passively ask, what does this dream mean? Or some people even ask like, what should I do in my life or some shit? And there's a very good chance your hypnagogia can provide an interpretation to that dream that will only make sense in hypnagogia. If you in real life think of some weird fucking image, like, I don't know, a butterfly coming out of an apple and then eating a banana or some shit, I'm just thinking of like some random thing. When you look at that image in real life, that's gonna seem retarded. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, what are you talking about? But if you see that same image while you're in hypnagogia, while you're coming out of sleep, there's a good chance you may be like, oh shit, that's what that means. Oh shit, that butterfly coming out of that apple and eating a banana means I should like change my fucking job or some shit. Like, I know that sounds kind of like schizophrenic, but like, that's the kind of shit that happens in hypnagogia. And it makes so much sense in the moment, and it just seems to all connect. And so that's why it's the perfect state to interpret dreams. And the next one kind of links in with this. I haven't looked too much into this, but it's possible, it may be possible that you can get suppressed or repressed memories in hypnagogia. On this like large thesis I was reading, bro, there was this one guy who had a patient with amnesia. So he had kind of like memory problems, and he got this guy with memory problems to get into a really deep hypnagogic state. So he got him to like relax and focus on an image in his mind until he was in this hypnagogic place where his mind was free to wander. And then I think he got the patient to ask something like, what is wrong with me? And then his hypnagogia, so his subconscious brain, started providing him with images, bro, of him as a child and his childhood. And obviously this was fucking crazy and like a profound breakthrough for this guy. Obviously, I don't know if that was just his brain coming up with that or if that was real memories. I didn't look into the specific case study, but it seems it may be possible to retrieve suppressed memories from hypnagogia. So I don't know the exact details on that one, but another one is dream incubation. So choosing what to dream about. And so this has actually been a big thing for all throughout history. And actually, even in ancient Greece, motherfuckers were writing about hypnagogia, okay? So people have been writing about this for a long time. But dream incubation as well, choosing what to dream about, the best place to do that is in hypnagogia. There's a lot of dream incubation methods where people talk about just like writing down what you want to dream about and setting intention to dream about whatever you want, bro. But once again, the best place to try and incubate a dream is as you're falling asleep. If as you're falling asleep, you get into this really drowsy state where your mind is wandering, if you can think about what you want to dream about, there's a very, very high chance you will dream about that thing. And I guess that kind of links in with the next thing I'll talk about, which is manifestation. And I talked about this like last time, so I'm kind of stuttering. But there's a thing, state akin to sleep with manifestation people, where they get into a drowsy state before bed. And when they're in that drowsy state, they think about like what they want in their life and think about what they want as if they already have it. And then so they believe that will manifest into their lives. And so that also in itself can cause dream incubation. But why is that so useful for changing yourself? And why can thinking about what you want before you go to sleep, or as you're falling asleep, why can that really affect your life? It's because you become so absorbed in that image. A term I saw a lot when I was reading this hypnagogic thesis was that you kind of become, I think like chemically, what's the word, like chemically synchronized with the image. I don't know if that was the exact way of putting it, but it's like you literally become the thing. So if you're thinking before, say for example, right, if you're falling asleep and you want to dream of being at the beach or something like that, you want to dream of being at the beach, or let's say you believe in manifestation and you want to manifest some trip to the beach or whatever. If you get into hypnagogic imagery and think about being at the beach a lot, there's a good chance you will feel like you've become the beach and you're like completely absorbed in the beach. I don't know if that makes sense, but just for dream incubation, and if you believe in manifestation, hypnagogic imagery or hypnagogia is the perfect state to do this. And also visualization training. It can be used to improve your visualization, because my visualization, I must say, is pretty arse. It's at like a 5 to 10%. If 100% would be like I'm seeing shit in front of my real eyes, my visualization is like a 10%. However, yesterday, not even in the night, during the day, I managed to enter into a hypnagogic state within like 25 minutes. And I saw this drawing of like a butterfly or like a caterpillar or some shit, like on a piece of paper, and that visualization was at like a 50%, bro. Like that was like a 50% fucking visualization rate compared to my normal 10%, and I got to that state within like fucking 25 minutes or some shit. So that's what I'm saying, is that you may notice as you're waking up, your visualization is really good. And so if you can really focus on using that to visualize and try and remember what it's like to have that really crystal clear visualization, that's going to really help with like improving your visualization. And that's something I don't actually think anyone's really mentioned that. I've not seen a motherfucker like ever talk about that. Kind of linking in with that is tulpa development as well. Now, tulpas are obviously, this is kind of more schizo, but tulpas are imaginary friends in your head that talk back to you and shit. And people will kind of have tulpas to make like mental companions and stuff like that. It's a thing I talk about a lot on my channel. And what is, once again, the best place to create a tulpa, if not in a state where your brain is able to say anything at once and go off on these weird tangents? If you're trying to mimic a conversation with a real person, the best place to do that is in hypnagogia. I don't know, like I've had this thing recently where if I talk to someone for a very long time and I talk to them a lot, they will start talking to me by themselves in my head, like as I'm falling asleep. So that's another thing, is that if you're interested in anything like tulpomancy or creating these automatic processes that seem to work by themselves in your brain, the best place to work on that is as you're falling asleep. I don't know if that makes sense. And so it kind of links in. This is like the more weirder stuff. It links in with a lot of paranormal things like psychic shit and telepathy and out of body experiences, because once again, I'm not too trained in like this occult shit and like psychic stuff. I'm not really into that. But a lot of them talk about getting into this trance-like state to do telepathy or do any of that stuff. A state that's basically hypnagogia. And I was reading this thesis that this guy collected a bunch of like I guess texts from like people that were into occult and like psychic stuff, and a lot of them wanted beginner psychics to actually train the hypnagogic state. And there was a couple of researchers who believed that if you had unidentified imagery in hypnagogia, so if you had hypnagogic imagery that you had never seen before, because a lot of the times you will have images you've seen in the day or things like that. If you have imagery you've not seen before, there was a guy who believed that could be from another mind, and that could be actually a telepathic thing. Like, I don't know how legit that is, or like what the fuck's up with that shit, but as I had said recently, there was a study showing that untrained students can see the problems of someone through their dreams just from looking at a photo of them. That's not like some hippie occult shit. That's literally just a study some fucking university did. So the best place to do all that, let's just say the psychic shit is real. Would the best place to do that not be where your brain is completely unguarded and doesn't have walls and it is receptive to literally anything? So if you're into the occult and you're into paranormal stuff like that, training hypnagogia and really paying attention to it is like the best thing you can do for that. It's like the best thing you can do. Also, out of body experiences and like astral projection. If you look at any methods to astrally project or leave your body, they are all around sleep, and they are all around hypnagogia as well. They're really all about that. And if you can get into a hypnagogic state, I think there was another study on this showing that they got people to try and have an out-of-body experience, and a very high percentage of them said they had that after hypnagogia or as they were waking up, so having hypnopompic imagery, if that kind of makes sense. So I'm really sorry. I feel like, oh my god, I feel like I apologize for yapping every time I yap, and then there's always someone being like, don't apologize for yapping, keep doing it, that's why we're here. So yeah, I appreciate that, but like at the same time, I'm kind of speaking very quickly. I don't know, like I just wanted to list out a lot of benefits of those states. Because I feel people are always like, why would you try and lucid dream? Why would you care about dreaming? Like, it is so much deeper than you think, bro. But that's all I have to say on that. Farewell. Do not join the Discord. Do not join the super secret group. Dislike the video. Leave me a mean comment. I actually do plan on really trying to work out like a very good teachable method to induce hypnagogic imagery, because I'm saying it has a lot of benefits to it, bro. It has a lot of fucking benefits to it. So I've been trying to work out a best way to do it, so I'll keep you updated on that, obviously. And farewell. I love you.